Hello again from Rome. This is Matt Gaspers, Managing Editor of Catholic Family News. Today is Tuesday, October 9th, 2018, and we are still here in the Eternal City to cover the Synod on young people, the faith, and vocational discernment. And in addition to our coverage of the Synod, we're trying to make a bit of a tour, a pilgrimage, if you will, around town to some of the iconic sites in Rome, one of which is directly behind me, the famous Colosseum, which was built in the construction began in the late 70s and was finished in 80 AD. And it's the site, as many of you surely know, of the martyrdom of thousands of the early Christians, the first few centuries of the church. So today at the Colosseum, continuing my reflections on the spiritual significance of everything that's going on here with the Synod and just the situation in the church in general, I'm struck by the fact that the youth who are here for the Synod, they truly need the Catholic spirit to be infused into them. And this is a great place to consider that, to meditate on that. The site where so many Christians gave their lives for Christ, and that spirit of martyrdom, the spirit of sacrifice, is in complete opposition to the spirit of the world with which so many young people are completely inundated. The spirit of me, me, me. All around us we've seen people taking selfies on their phones and making special poses. It's all about me. The martyrs teach us that it's all about Jesus. There's actually a plaque in the Colosseum. I'm going to read the text of it to you. That is, it pays homage to the martyrs. It says, "The amphitheater, one consecrated to triumphs, entertainments, and the impious worship of pagan gods, is now dedicated to the sufferings of the martyrs, purified from impious superstitions." That's a beautiful reflection. Something else I want to read to you to really give us the spirit of the martyrs is a reflection from St. Therese of Lisieux. She wrote about her experience visiting the Colosseum as I believe a 13, 14-year-old girl, a young person, very appropriate for the Synod. And her reflections are really beautiful, and they will help give us that spirit of sacrifice that we want and we need. So she says in her autobiography, which I'm reading from, The Story of a Soul, "3 days after our pilgrimage to Bayeux, I set out on a far longer one, this time to the Eternal City. I saw splendid monuments, studied treasures of art and religion, and most wonderful of all, stood on the very soil that the apostles trod, the soil bedewed with martyrs' blood. And from its contact with these sacred things, my soul grew, while I learned the emptiness of things that pass." So many of the youth today are so caught up in the things of the world, material things. They have no concept of things eternal, things of God. So really what the Synod Fathers should be doing is encouraging young people to read the lives of the saints, read the autobiography of St. Therese of Lisieux. So she goes on further in her account, "I will tell you about Rome now, Rome where I looked for consolation and found the cross. We arrived during the night. I had been sleeping in the carriage and was awakened by the shouting of porters. 'Roma, Roma!' A cry soon picked up and echoed enthusiastically by the pilgrims." And she talks about coming to this very spot, the Colosseum, with her father and her sister. "Here at last I was seeing with my own eyes the arena where so many martyrs had shed their blood for Jesus. And I wanted to stoop and kiss the soil which their glorious trials had sanctified. I could think of only one thing: I had to get down into the arena." You see, her father and sister and her were on some sort of guided tour, but she wanted to, she had a holy desire to break the rules, so to speak, in order to get into the arena itself where the martyrs had died. So she says to her sister, Celine, "Follow me, there is a way through." We both ran forward at once, scrambling over the ruins, which crumbled under our feet, while Father shouted after us, astonished at our recklessness. But we did not hear. As warriors of old felt their courage grow in the face of danger, So our joy increased with our tiredness and the danger we faced to get out to our longed-for goal. My heart beat violently as I pressed my lips to the dust once reddened with the blood of the early Christians, and I asked the grace to be a martyr too for Jesus. Beautiful reflections from St. Therese. If you have not ever read her account, it's very short, very easy to read, and it can be life-changing for a person's spiritual life. So in closing for this video update, I want to read one more thing that it has significance not only to where we are in Rome right now, but also to the crisis in the church. So every year, I don't recall when this tradition began, I know it goes back quite a long time, the Way of the Cross is prayed here each year on Good Friday, typically led by the Pope. And in 2005, on Good Friday, it was actually Cardinal Ratzinger, who was very shortly after elected Benedict XVI, who led the Way of the Cross in the absence of John Paul II, who was dying. And on the 9th station, which is Jesus Falls the 3rd time, he gave a meditation that is very significant for what's going on in the church today. It was going on then, it's going on now, concerning the clergy sexual abuse scandal. And I'm going to close this video update with this quote from then Cardinal Ratzinger. What can the 3rd fall of Jesus under the cross say to us? We have considered the fall of man in general and the falling of many Christians away from Christ and into a godless secularism. Should we not also think of how much Christ suffers in his own church? How often is the Holy Sacrament of his presence abused? Of course, a reference to the Holy Eucharist. How often must he enter empty and evil hearts? How often do we celebrate only ourselves without even realizing that he is there? How often is his word twisted and misused? What little faith is present behind so many theories, so many empty words? How much filth there is in the church, and even among those who, in the priesthood, ought to belong entirely to him. How much pride, how much self-complacency, what little respect we pay to the sacrament of reconciliation, where he waits for us, ready to raise us up whenever we fall. All this is present in his passion, his betrayal by his disciples, their unworthy reception of his body and blood, is certainly the greatest suffering endured by the Redeemer. It pierces his heart. We can only call to him from the depths of our hearts, Kyrie eleison, Lord, save us. So as we continue our time here in Rome, covering the Synod and offering prayers and reparations, remember this meditation. Remember the Colosseum and remember the martyrs. From Rome, I am Matt Gaspers for Catholic Family News and the Fatima Center. God bless you.